Hello, friends, and welcome to another WSIB Truth Matters with Joe Machado. I hope you're doing well. Today, I'm going to start another three-part series on a subject that's very important and affects every single injured worker, past and present. And that's basically dealing with the WSIB's Reemployment Obligations, understanding your rights under that policy, understanding what the employer's obligations are. And that way you can make decisions, informed decisions about your claim. Because inevitably, after your injury, hopefully you'll be able to return to work in some capacity, and understanding what your rights are is key. And I found out many years ago that having a claim successful to whatever extent with the WSIB, it's important to understand what your rights are so that you can make informed decisions. And it doesn't seem like the WSIB does a very good job of explaining your rights, apart from these letters that they send out with very complicated policies and clauses and all kinds of crap. So my mission is to make sure that I convey information through this channel, as I did for many years with my clients in my paralegal firm, to help you understand your rights and what you can do when you are confronted with certain situations. However, just as a very crucial point to the beginning of this three-part series, that will go on. This is the first video, and another one tomorrow, and another one on Thursday. On Wednesday, I'm doing the once a week focus on WSIB video, and there's going to be some pretty interesting stuff on that one. But anyway, it's going to be a three-part series, about 20 minutes per video. I like to keep them not too long and not too confusing, and so hopefully you'll have a good understanding of where you stand if you're dealing with the reemployment situation now, or if it's something you may confront in the future. You can always refer back to these videos, and you can always refer back to the policy, which I've put on the bottom of the screen here. So, but yes, a very important, very crucial piece of information is that if you sever your employment with your injury employer, in other words, if you quit, a lot of the reemployment obligations may cease to apply. So my advice to anyone who's ever had a claim is don't quit. Do not ever quit your job under any circumstances. If they don't have a job for you, let them let you know in writing, and then the WSIB will take it from there. But do not, under any circumstances, quit. Otherwise, you're going to be shooting yourself in the foot. So, and you know what? I know sometimes frustration can set in, particularly if there isn't a good relationship with the employer, and I can understand the urgency to quit, but don't. Okay, so this first part talks about accommodation requirements, and I'm just going to read to you what the policy states. Injury employers with reemployment obligations have a duty to modify the work to accommodate the needs of the worker to the extent that the accommodation does not cause the employer undue hardship, and I'll explain that to you. If the injury employer has control over the workplace, they also have a duty to modify the workplace as required by the worker to the extent of undue hardship. If a worker can perform or fulfill the essential duties of their pre-injury job with accommodation, or a job becomes available that can be made suitable through accommodation, and the accommodation does not cause the injury employer undue hardship, the employer must provide the accommodation to allow the worker to continue in or return to work. A worker's accommodation requirements may be temporary or permanent, and I'll talk about that as well. Well, permanent is if your injury ends up becoming a permanent impairment, and you end up having permanent restrictions, which would require a permanent accommodation. And so basically it also states, for more information, see duty to accommodate an undue hardship in policy 190207. So one of the examples of undue hardship to the employer would be if the employer is going to set up a whole new job or department or create a new job or make modifications to an existing job, and those factors or doing those, any one of those three or four, requires a financial investment, and it may be that that financial investment isn't feasible for the employer. And so that's one of the criteria that the employer would have to meet in terms of undue hardship. But there's a whole host of information they'd have to provide to the WSIB to make sure that it's legit, that their complaint of undue hardship is legit. So that pretty much explains most of it. Okay, so determining a worker's ability to work and how that happens. Basically, the policy states the worker's ability to work can be determined based on the workplace parties' review of relevant information regarding the worker's functional abilities, or through a decision made by the WSIB, either on its own initiative or by request of either workplace party, so the worker or the employer. For more information about determining the worker's ability to return to work and the use of the WSIB's Functional Abilities Form for planning early and safe return to work, there's a policy on that. And I'm sure most of you, if you have been in this situation or you're going through it now, you've probably had to have complete or have your doctor complete a Functional Abilities Form. So in some cases, the workplace parties may be unsure or unable to agree on whether the worker can return to some form of work, and if so, whether the worker is fit for essential duties of the pre-injury job or fit for suitable work. Either party can contact the WSIB, and the WSIB will do one of the following: assist them to reach consensus on the issue, or make a determination as to the worker's level of fitness to return to work, and promptly give the workplace parties written notice of the determination. Since the worker's level of fitness for work can change over time, the workplace parties and the WSIB monitor the worker's fitness level to ensure that appropriate reemployment activities occur at the appropriate times. Pretty straightforward. You can work out a return to work plan with the employer. If you feel that there's a job within your restrictions and the employer is willing to accommodate, and you can engage in all of this without the WSIB's assistance. But if you do need assistance, or if there's some question as to whether you're able to do your regular job or a suitable job or your fitness for work, then those functional abilities forms will be a part of the process to make those determinations and help facilitate the return to work. I know that in a lot of cases, the WSIB doesn't pay a lot of attention to that and forces people, but I'm going to explain to you the policy, and then there's tools to try and address issues as they come up if you have a dispute with the WSIB or the employer with respect to the job. So in determining the fitness for the essential duties of the job, this is what the policy states. Determining fitness for essential duties. In cases where the worker is off work entirely or back to suitable work, the workplace parties and or the WSIB determine whether the worker is medically able to perform the essential duties of their pre-injury job. To determine the essential duties of a worker's pre-injury job, the duties that are necessary to achieve the actual job outcome as considered. The job outcome is overall objective of the job in terms of the production of the final product or provision of service. In addition, other factors that are considered include, but are not limited to, the following: how often each duty is undertaken, the proportion of time spent at each duty, the effect on the job outcome if a duty is removed, the effect on the work process before, after a duty is, if a duty is removed, the current job description, and the normal productivity expected in the job. This refers to the rate, range, or level of production or service expected for the job. And so a lot of times there isn't enough information or detailed information for the WSIB to determine the suitability of job. And more importantly, your doctor. If your doctor or healthcare professional is going to be involved in the return to work process and provide recommendations, and this is often overlooked by at least clients that I've dealt with over the years, where maybe they feel rushed or they're nervous, I don't know what it is, but giving your doctor a very detailed description of what you do, how often, what you do, how much you lift, how much you bend, all of these things, very important, so that not only the WSIB, but your doctor understands exactly what you go through during the course of your regular job during the day, or your regular day of work at your regular job, and can provide information to help you. So the policy continues. In some cases, the worker's functional abilities may prevent them from performing the duty or duties necessary to achieve the pre-injury job outcome or limit their rate, range, or level of production. The workplace parties and or the WSIB consider whether an accommodation may allow the worker to perform the duty or duties as required. If so, the employer must provide accommodation unless it causes undue hardship, and the determination is made that the worker is fit for the essential duties of the pre-injury job. When a worker is fit for the essential duties of the pre-injury job with accommodation, the work or workplace accommodation offered must also be safe and consistent with the worker's functional abilities. So again, making sure that the WSIB and your doctor are aware of all of the details, no matter how minute they appear, that are involved with the performing of your job. So the next section deals with determining if an alternate job is comparable. And here's what the policy states. Determining an alternate job is comparable. When the worker is fit for the essential duties of their pre-injury job, with or without accommodation, if the injury employer does not offer to reemploy the worker in the position that the worker held on the date of injury, with accommodation if necessary, then the employer must offer to provide the worker with an alternate job of a nature and at the earnings comparable to the worker's job on the date of injury. When determining if an alternate job offered is comparable to the pre-injury job, in addition to the comparable earnings, the WSIB may consider a number of other factors, including job duties to be performed, skills, qualification, and experience required, degree of physical and mental effort required, level of responsibility and supervision of other employees, rights and privileges associated with the position, bargaining unit status, geographic location of the alternative worksite, hours of work, working conditions, and right to work overtime, and employee benefits, including but not limited to vacation, healthcare, life insurance, and pension benefits. Any other factor may be more or less important in a particular case, depending on the circumstances. Any alternate job offered must also be considered safe, productive, and consistent with the worker's functional abilities. So again, these things are very important because it's not the employer taking you and placing you somewhere where it's not even a real job, but they already have somebody else doing the job you were injured at, and they just place you there doing that and kind of leave you alone. And it could be a meaningless job with very little in terms of fulfillment that you have in your job. In other words, it's a made-up job, and I'm sure a lot of you have probably felt like that at one point or another. It's not the same earnings. Maybe the structure of the group plan has changed, or different for that job, or there's all kinds of different things. And I've seen this happen. A lot of employers are really, really good, but some of them will try to pull these kinds of moves to get you to quit. And this is where it's important for you to have regular communication with the WSIB in writing. I always caution in writing, because they will say shit and then deny they've said it. And I'm saying this based on my experience. I've seen it happen many times. You get this in writing, communication with the WSIB, so that if you have to appeal anything, all of it's in writing. There's no room for, oh, well, no, I really didn't say that, or, well, I didn't really mean it that way. If you're going to communicate with the WSIB regarding reemployment situations and you're having issues with the employer, get all of that communication in writing. And again, make sure that your doctor is involved in the process. So the next section is determining fitness of suitable work and suitable and available work. So the policy here states, there's a couple of sections. Determining fitness for suitable work. If the worker is not fit to perform the essential duties of the pre-injury job, with or without accommodations, the workplace parties and or the WSIB determine if the worker is fit to return to suitable work. This is determined by comparing the worker's functional abilities and limitations to the demands of the job. If the worker is fit to return to suitable work, the injury employer must offer the first suitable work that is or becomes available. The second section here, suitable and available work. Suitable work means post-injury work that is safe, productive, and consistent with the worker's functional abilities, and that restores the worker's pre-injury earnings to the greatest extent possible. The factors the WSIB examines to determine if suitable work is available at the pre-injury work site or at another work site include, but are not limited to, whether a job vacancy has been posted, advertised, or otherwise communicated, or evidence of hirings or transfers that occur on or after the date the worker is fit for suitable work. So they do their due diligence when they're forced to, when the employer is, when they have to get into the position now where they're getting the employer to offer suitable modified work, whether that work is available or not. And the employer has to provide a lot of information to support the fact that if they're saying that they don't have a suitable job and they've been advertising to fill that position, that won't go over very well. So it does happen. And so this is where it's important that you understand these sections so that you can do something about it if the situation arises. This next section talks about workplace party disputes over a job offer. And in this section, the policy states, workers and injury employers are encouraged to resolve disputes with respect to a job offer on their own. This includes whether A, an offered accommodation to the pre-injury job suits the worker's needs, B, an alternate job offered is comparable to the pre-injury job, or C, the job offered is suitable. If the workplace parties are not successful in resolving a dispute, they must notify the WSIB. The WSIB will assist the workplace parties to reach an agreement on the specific issue or make a determination with respect to the job offer. So again, the WSIB is in my experience, this is one of the areas where the WSIB does take some action relatively quickly because they want to get you off of benefits as soon as possible. So that's their motivation, and that's good. But it can backfire if they're pushing you to do a job or return to work and your doctor is saying that you're not ready. But they are proactive in trying to get you back to work. And the minute that they understand that there's an issue in dispute about suitability of the job, if it's accommodated, or whether it's an actual job and reflects all of the circumstances of your pre-injury status, they will work with you in that regard. So very important to be in touch with them on that particular issue. And the policy also goes on to state in this section, when the WSIB finds the job offer is appropriate, if the WSIB determines that the specific job offer is appropriate, the WSIB informs both parties of its decision. WSIB will generally adjust the worker's wage loss benefit based on the earnings of the offered job as of the date that the worker's next available shift. If the worker declines to return to the job offered, the injury employer's reemployment obligation ends. And this is where now you get into an appeal situation. If the WSIB is saying the job is suitable and you disagree with it. And yes, and that's where I always advise to appeal. The next section is WSIB finds the job offer is not appropriate, and this is what happens. In that specific case, the WSIB informs both parties of its decision. The WSIB will generally continue to pay the wage loss benefit as long as the worker continues to demonstrate cooperation with the injury employer and the WSIB in the return to work process. Depending on the worker's fitness level, the injury employer must consider other accommodations to the pre-injury job, short of undue hardship, offer the worker another job that is most comparable in nature and earnings to the worker's pre-injury job, or continue to attempt to identify a suitable job that is available or becomes suitable through accommodation, short of undue hardship. So you see a lot of this happen more so in larger employers and some of the even medium-sized employers, generally 20 employees and up, where certain jobs can become available. They can promote someone or move some people around with their cooperation. Obviously, there's some latitude there, but generally this applies more so in employers with a large number of employees. So friends, this pretty much concludes this first part of the reemployment obligations. As you can see, I kind of kept it short, very simple, easy to read if you have to go back and revisit any portions of this video. But I think that gives you enough, so you have an understanding of what your rights are and what your employer's obligations are. And so part 2 will come out tomorrow, and I'll talk about some other components of that are very important of this policy, and then part 3 on Thursday. So I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. For my subscribers, thank you for sharing my videos and subscribing to the channel. It's helping me to build the channel. My goal is to reach every injured worker in this province with current claims or past claims. I have expertise in pre-1990 claims, Bill 162 and Bill 99, and I can help through this format with this channel or through my company, WSIBsettlements.com. If you're not a subscriber, I invite you to become a subscriber. It's free. Just click the subscriber button and the notification bell so you're informed every time I come out with a new video. And welcome. So once again, friends, thank you for taking the time to watch this video. As always, take care.